Hey guys, I wanted to make a video on my personal best in slot for Season 1 Arena for Mage. This is primarily going to be for Rogue Mage, but I'll give some various talent builds that are pretty meta to Mage, whether you play DPM or RM, the two big comps for 2v2 for Mage Season 1. So we'll start with the talents. This is my personal talent setup for Rogue Mage. It's a little bit different from the meta. So basically, you're going to take your typical Arcane Focus and Arcane Subtlety, head down, grab your Clear Casting. I like to put 2 points into Magic Attunement for Dampen Magic. It just makes it a little stronger. You get a little bit more tanky against spells. Then you go down to Improve Counterspell. That's pretty typical of what people do. You're either going to take 2 out of this and put it into that, or you're going to take 2 out of that and put it into this. For Frost, so it's basically 3 talents that can change depending on your play style or what you like. It's going to be Piercing Ice, Winter's Chill, and Arctic Winds. I like to go 5 out of 5 Arctic Winds and 5 out of 5 Winter Chill. I know the meta usually is you put 4 into this and 3 into Arctic Winds, and then you take 3 out of 3 Piercing Ice. So basically what that gives you, if you go 3 out of 3 Arctic Winds, 3 out of 5 Arctic Winds, you get 3% extra damage from spells for Frost, and then you get another 6%. So you get a total of 9. And in this spec, you're only getting a total of 5. Now, the coefficients for Frostbolt, so Frostbolt is an 81.43% coefficient, and Ice Lance on frozen targets is a 42.87% coefficient. So a 4% increase on frost damage into that is quite minimal. So I personally like to go for more RNG for defensive reasons. So 5 out of 5 Arctic Winds, I can't tell you how many times that, I've dodged or gotten a miss on myself from a melee hitting me or a ranged. It just makes you a little bit beefy overall. And Winter's Chill, I like the 5 out of 5 to eliminate the RNG of that 20% chance, since a lot of people go 4 out of 5. Sometimes you put a, rank 1 Frostbolt or Lance on a Warlock to try to 50-50 his Devour. And there has been times when I wasn't playing the spec that, I wouldn't get the Winter's Chill and you're just behind on a global. So I like to eliminate the chances of that even happening. So with that, I go max RNG for myself for against melee and range, and I go, minimizing RNG completely with getting a Winter's Chill up. So, the other variation would be you would go, 4, 3, and then you put 3 into that. And then with DPM, you could play the 1744, but sometimes they'll take points here. So they can go 4-3, or they stay 5, and maybe they reduce from here. I don't know DPM too well, but usually they want to get Arcane Meditation, depending, but maybe that was last time in TBC, and this time it doesn't really matter. Regardless, if you're playing RM, there's gonna be a lot more RM players than DPM players. This is my personal spec. Anything really does work if you take the Piercing Ice, but this is just what I like to do. So let's get into the gear. So my gear setup is based upon what I think is best for Mage in the sense of what talents you have to work with in Arena and PvP in general. So because we have the Shatter talent for 50%, higher chance to crit on frozen targets, I like to go maximum spell power. Having a base crit of, as you can see, 14.84% unbuffed with the plus 50, you're sitting pretty high. You add a little resilience in there, you should have higher than 50% chance to crit. So to me personally, that's enough RNG for me to be like, okay, my Shatter should crit, or at least the Lance or the Frostbolt, one of those is going to crit. I want to maximize the coefficient that the damage is as high as it possibly can be, since I'm already kind of giving myself by 4% doing this spec. So crit to me is not really important for Mage because you already automatically get it from talent. So I go, Gladiator Silk Cowl. You take the 22 spell power, 14 hit rating from rep. You get the 12 crit gem, 3% increased critical damage, and you get the 9 spell power to hit the Sokka bonus. So this piece is up for debate. It really depends. I personally like the Pendant of Dominance. I know a lot of people also enjoy season 1. They like to grab the Talisman of the Breaker for the reduced silence. It really depends, because for me, I like the stats of the pendant. You also get more spell power overall. You get some resilience. And the silence doesn't always come into effect in every comp you face. But if you know what's queuing, say you're doing some RM mirrors, it would be pretty good. But usually there's counterplay involved. Like if you get silence first, your rogue can, counteract by silencing the other mage. So, 4 second silence turns into 3.2 second, 3.3 second garrote turns into a 2.4 second. There's an extra global somewhere in there, but to me, I don't know. I don't take it, because especially later on in the seasons, you want to take the Vindicators and Guardians neck with the haste on it, or even some of the PvE items are incredible. But it's an option. I think both are good. There's really no right or wrong answer. This is just preference. So I stick with the Bandit. As I said, max spell power. Don't care about the spell crit. Soccer bonus, we put a 9 in there. I should mention for Mage, I play Jewel Crafting and Enchanting. As professions, Engineerings could be a runner-up. I don't personally care for it. I just like to get the most spell power possible, which would be the enchants on the rings, and then you later on get the 14 spell power gem. So then you get the Gladiator Silk Shoulders. Now, for Mage, 40 spell pen is a good point to hit, unless you're playing, Lock team, a Paladin team, or a Shaman team. Then you would have to aim for 70 from their, Totem, their Aura, and Warlock's talents. They bring, usually they play either 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 to get their spell talents, or their resistances, I should say, higher. I don't play for that. 40 covers basically everything else besides that, so I shoot for 40. Later on, you can get offhands that have spell pen on. Those are awesome to switch to for lock teams. But overall, I'll take the 40 to cover everything else, and I'll deal with the RNG on the other things, since they're a little less common to see. So I put a 10 spell pen in that, and then I like to get the Resil bonus, so this is where I would put a 4 spell crit, 5 spell damage gem. Now, I didn't include in this list like the gems you can get from heroics that are a little bit better. Obviously, if you get those, you can put those in, but this is just base stuff. So one big ticket item is the Ruby Drape of the Mystican, I believe that's how you say it. This is where you're going to get some spell hit. It also has great spell power on it and good base stats with stamina and intellect. You put 20 spell penetration on that. For the chest is where I put the big gems, 15 Resil for the Gladiator Silk Raiment, and this is where you put your Tool Crafting gem, then you put your PvP Honor gem, and then a regular 9 spell power gem in there. Don't care about the spell crit bonus. Huge spell power on this thing. It's awesome. In the wrists, this is where I would put the PvP gem for the crit and spell damage, because you'll get +8 spell power and 5 crit, which is to me more significant than just 9 spell power. You drop 1 spell power for 5 spell crit. That could be worth it. For the weapons, I like to get the Gladiator Spellblade. I know you can go with, the dagger or the mage, which are pretty interchangeable. Personally, they have crit on them. I don't really care. Obviously, if you get them early on before you get your weapon, I would obviously use this, but I'm thinking, end of season, I'd rather run with this. It's a little bit more tankier with Resil and Stam, and you only lose 4 spell power versus. And like I said, don't really care about the crit. So that obviously leads into this offhand from Kara. It's the most spell power you can get. Now, I've been up for debate in my head about if I'd want to go Talisman of Nightbane. Overall, either is amazing. You get the 17 spell crit from this. I'm just min-maxing spell power for this list, so you get 4 more base stats, and you get 7 more spell power. You drop the 17 crit. I haven't finalized my decision, but right now, because later on you get the better Gladiator offhands. The season 1 is terrible for some reason, but season 2 is quite good. So I go with the Karaborian Talisman. Gloves, pretty standard, 20 spell power, Gladiator gloves. Another big ticket item. The next 2 items are like the best for Mage. You get the Belt of Divine Inspiration from Gruul. I think it's Gruul's Lair. Is it Gruul's Lair? It's Gruul's Lair. This thing is massive, double socket, which you can put to get the spell power bonus and get the other stats with it as well. 43 spell power is insane. This thing is amazing. Probably the best item in the game for Mage is the Trialfire Trousers. That's going to be on everyone's list. You can get the spell damage bonus, put some crit in it, make up from it there, but overall these things are incredible. The Marshal's Boots with minor speed. Well, it'd be Boar speed for this one. The rings, you're going to get your Exalted Ring from Kara, and then this is going to be annoying to get, but the Band of Crimson Fury from Mag. This will help cover your 3% needed hit for PvP. Obviously, if you want to maximize it, you get 7% for rogues, but that just seems a little too high, especially, you know, early on. It'd be like going for 70 spell pin, 7% hit. You would drop way too many stats for not always seeing what you're looking to see with that type of setup. Another alternative would be the Seal of the Exorcist. It is quite good as well. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have intellect on it. So if I can't get the Band of Crimson Fury, I will be using Seal of Exorcist, but for my personal BiS, obviously you want band, but this Seal of the Exorcist is an excellent run up. You drop 4 hit, but you'll still cover the 3%. The spell damage is the same. You gain a little resilience. The only thing is use intellect, and I want to have as much mana as possible. Down to the Alliance, obviously, and then since there's no Mind Quickening gem, you use your icon of the Silver Crescent, and then you have the Gladiator's Touch of Defeat. So overall, you know, unbuffed, you're going to be sitting around 8,800 health and 9k mana. Obviously, I'm Gnome, so I think I have a little bit more, but give or take the 5%, not a big deal. You're going to have 951 spell power, which is pretty insane. I mean, when you pop Icon, I mean, you're going to have almost pretty much season 4 spell damage on a Shatter if you land it. Obviously, a little bit harder without the haste, but it's going to happen no matter what with setups, especially if you're playing Rogue Mage. Early on, you know, low resil, low health pools, like the damage is absolutely insane. And I know you're dropping a little bit of crit, but this max spell power, you get the coefficients lined up to match with your Shatter talent, and you do get the crit you should be getting. You're going to absolutely obliterate things. So that's what I go for. Hit the spell hit. Base crit is still pretty good. It's almost 15% unbuffed. So Arcane Intellect will put you above that. Obviously, no haste. You get the 40 spell pen. And you're still sitting a little bit above 250 resilience, which, you know, Mage is quite an elusive class, but sometimes you just get decked out of nowhere, especially with rogues possibly ambushing you, things of that nature. So, you know, I try to be as tanky as possible, but with a balance of a lot of spell power as well. So yeah, this is my setup. This is what I'll be attempting to run season 1. You know, first time in TBC. I don't think I ran this exactly, but you know, I missed rank 1 every season by like a spot or 2. And after, you know, diving deep again back on Warmane and getting ready for the next rendition of TBC, which is upon us, I came to the conclusion that this is what works best for me and what I think personally is best for Rogue Mage as the Mage. So hope you liked the video. I might do a Druid and Rogue guide. I also play those, just not this time in Classic because I don't have the time to have so many characters. But yep, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys.